Good evening, I'm Barkha Dutt and you're watching The Buck Stops Here. On the program tonight, we're continuing to look at the spectrum of corruption on a day when the Prime Minister himself has been dragged into the controversy, with the Supreme Court expressing concern over what it called his alleged inaction. On the program tonight, we debate whether the telecom scam now goes well beyond A. Raja. On the Buck Stops Here tonight, Pranab Mukherjee laid out the biryani for opposition leaders but could not break the deadlock in Parliament. More worryingly for the government, the Supreme Court dragged the Prime Minister into the controversy, saying that it was worried about the alleged inaction and silence of the Prime Minister. On the program tonight, we debate whether the telecom scam now goes well beyond A. Raja. This on a day when the CAG report is officially out and indicts not just the minister, but brings a number of India's top corporate houses firmly under the scanner. Chandrasekhar now, somebody who has been in Parliament but also in the telecom business and has also been writing to the Prime Minister on this entire issue. Rajiv, when you look at the big picture, Raja is out, but do you believe that this scam goes well beyond in the light of what the Comptroller and Auditor General of India have said today in their report?
No, absolutely, Barkha. I think, Minister Raja is just one small element of this complex web of corruption and misuse of the government, and of course the consequence of loss of money to the people of India. There is the minister, there are bureaucrats, there is the TRAI, and of course there are at the end of the other side of the equation, there are the beneficiaries of the scam, of the swindle. And unless you get to the bottom of all this, and unless we are able to once and for all prosecute this white-collar crime, this will just repeat itself again and again in different forms and shapes. And I've seen this in telecom, Barkha. I've seen scams, I've seen swindles, and it just never seems to go away because we never seem to solve the problem once and for all.
Chandrasekhar, where's the top?
No, Barkha, my pay scale doesn't let me go all the way there in terms of discussion. So I'll stick to what I believe is really the problem. There is an institutional collapse. The institutions like the TRAI and the Department of Telecom, which are supposed to protect the sector from political discretion and largesse, as is the case with all politicians, have essentially failed. And we must get to asking specific questions on what the TRAI was doing when ministers were running amok. I mean, why did they not red flag this? Why did they not say something? And going back to what Manish said, if the response from the minister was a bland, the TRAI has recommended that we give licenses away in 2008 at 2001 prices, somebody in the government should have said, excuse me, what's wrong with the TRAI?
Exactly. Right. Rajiv, do you see this distinction between presumptive corruption, a kind of calculation that's based on a presumptive loss and actual loss?
No, I mean, I think, Barkha, the point and the challenge is not to get lost in the exactness of the quantitative element of the scam. I mean, if we agree that there is a swindle and there is a crime, I mean, it's actually best left to an investigative process to actually finalize the exact amount. But it's enough, in my opinion, for civil society to accept and understand that there is a crime that has been committed, there are beneficiaries, and there are participants to it. Instead of having to get lost in this debate on whether it's 1,76,000 or it's 60,000 or 75,000. And that in itself is the problem, which is that we have to take this white-collar crime. We don't have an institutional setup that processes white-collar crime to its logical conclusion and, like Dr. Swamy says, creates a deterrent for future criminals. And out of all this, if we can create a process or an institutional framework that takes the bribe givers away out of the equation to a large part, then you will find that it also has a nice cascading positive effect on the bribe takers or the potential bribe takers.
I want to Rajiv Chandrasekhar, how shocked were you by what Ratan Tata said?
No, I mean, I wasn't too impressed with it, frankly. I mean, I think it's 20 years too late. He should have said it when it happened, and he should have disclosed the name of the person that made him do or made him that offer. So I'm not a big fan of people who do this retrospective analysis of things. Let me just say one last thing, Barka. I think it requires more than a Barack Obama to come and say India has emerged for us to truly be emerged. We've got to fix our dysfunctionalities in government that play out every day, whether it's CWG or land or whatever, before we can really be emerged and not the banana republic.